Let's check in on the Sooners. Before we do that, though, if you haven't yet gotten to the chat and submitted a question, Nick Brake, the keeper of the queue, the man, the myth, the legend, the heavy lifter extraordinaire, we'll get to them. It'll be a whole lot of fun. We don't want you to miss out. So if you could shoot those questions in right now, it'd be phenomenal. And we have a better chance of getting to your question. All right? As I was saying, the Oklahoma Sooners are 5-3. And the last time we really checked in on the Sooners, it was after the Red River rivalry, and they lost, I believe it was 49-0 against Texas. And we said, oh boy, golly, Brent Venables, huh? A lot of other people were saying Brent Venables bad hire, right? Can't believe they fell for that. I think ESPN actually, during a mid-season article they have out, talking about mid-season reports for first-year head coaches, they gave Brent Venables a D+, which I think is a wild grade to give, but we all got to make some money, huh? Nothing about Brent Venables is untrue from when you hired him. Let me stress that again. Everything about Brent Venables that you hired him for is still true. I think the best way to say this is when you got married to Brent Venables, you didn't marry him for money as Oklahoma. Like, you didn't marry him for the ROI in 2022. You hired him for culture. You hired him for the defensive edge he's going to bring. You hired him for recruiting. All three of those things take some time to get installed. They take some time to have the ROI be present. You married him for the culture, for the defensive edge, all those things. Like, that's a thing that takes some baking to eventually get there. So there's some like long game you got to play here. And you're not going to see those in 2022, which is unfortunate. Now, the thing that we missed on and we thought would have more of an impact, we thought the defense would be a little bit more substantial in terms of its importance in a game. We thought they'd be able to hold their own a little bit better, but it's not the case. All right? Doesn't mean the defense isn't going to be good, because Brent Venables, I promise you, that's the next point I want to get to, he's not putting his name next to anything that's happening on the field right now in terms of endorsing it. He's not saying, man, I guess my scheme doesn't work in the Big 12. He's not saying, wow, I guess I got to go ahead and adjust what I believe works. He said it in a press conference, I believe it was after the Iowa State game. He said, you got to stay faithful to your processes and what you believe works and get to executing that. Right now, they're not executing. Maybe some of it's a personnel thing, and he's taking care of that too. That's a thing they're doing right now. Oklahoma's recruiting at a fairly high level, actually, for how well they're playing right now. On top of that, the offense, it's going to get there, right? Like Dillon Gabriel and company, they've actually been pretty decent, 33 points a game, ranked for 32nd in the country. But even so, Jeff Lebby's not signing off next to what's happening on the field. Jeff Lebby is historically scoring more points per game. At UCF, even though it was group of five, dock it if you want to, they scored 43 a game. At Ole Miss a season ago, 36 points a game. So it's a process. You're going to eventually get there. But I just want to make sure that we have this conversation right now. What you believe about Brent Venables, there's nothing in 2022 that should shake that belief. All right? Nothing that ultimately should be something that you turn your nose up at with Brent Venables. A lot is going to happen in Norman that's going to be very, very good. But understand, a little bit of a revamp happening, as there is a lot of places in the Big 12. And that's the good news for Sooner fans. The Big 12 Conference is a place with a lot of parity, right? Like there's so much that goes on year in and year out with just by nature of what's happened in the conference, which is just wild to think about. Now TCU is the lead dog, and last year they were struggling to find ways to win, and now they're undefeated and talking about them in a college football playoff situation. They're 5-3, and they have 3 of their losses to college football playoff ranked teams, right? I mean, Kansas State, Texas, and TCU. All teams that were ranked in the top 25. So if you want to be upset about those losses, you can. But I think the point I'm trying to get at here is the fall for Oklahoma was not top of the top to rock bottom. It was fall from the upper tier to the middle tier. That's okay. You're not falling 500 feet. You fell a few, staircases, which isn't great, but you're still very much in a place where you're going to be competitive next year. You're going to be competitive this year. Heck, if they win out, they go 9-3. Count the bowl game, it's 10 wins. How differently are we talking about Oklahoma from the Texas game to after that bowl game if they're a 10-win team? A lot would have to happen. They still play Baylor. They go to West Virginia. They play Oklahoma State. And they go to Texas Tech. So it would be a tall order to win out, but I'm just saying, it's still possible. And they've won the last 2, so they're kind of starting to catch their rhythm. going back to the Big 12, you can flip it quick in that conference. Dave Aranda got there during the COVID season, installed everything over Zoom, and they won, I believe it was like 2 or 3 games in his first year. And everybody said the exact same thing then that they're saying about Brent Venables right now. Dave Aranda's not a head coach. He doesn't know what it's like to be a head coach. He doesn't know how to succeed there. He's punching above his weight. Bad hire by Baylor. Hired a coordinator. It's supposed to be a coordinator, right? Sound familiar? Same thing about Brent Venables right now. Give it some time, because the next year, I'm not saying it's going to happen this way, but the next year, Dave Aranda won the Big 12. Him and his Baylor Bears got right quick, fast, in a hurry. And like I said, the parity and just the shifting that's going on right now in the Big 12, I think it's not unreasonable to believe you can be very competitive this coming time next year. All right? So keep an eye on that. There's so much being built that you're not going to see ROI on just yet. The fruits of your labor, the seeds are being planted. Let some time pass. Be patient. This time next year, we can revisit this topic. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.